This video is brought to you by CapBeast.com. Design your own custom snapbacks and hats.
As you guys all know by now, two-time NBA MVP and Phoenix Suns star point guard Steve Nash retired from the league with the highest career free throw percentage in NBA history. He shot a ridiculous 90.43%, barely beating out Mark Price, who held second place at 90.39. And although Steve Nash was indeed a great player and this record is without a doubt amazing, what if I told you that it was neither Steve Nash or Mark Price who was statistically the best free throw shooter of all time? What if I told you that there was one person who did it better than both? NBA player Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf finished his 9-year NBA career with a 90.5% free throw shooting percentage. However, according to the NBA, in order to qualify as a leader in free throw shooting, you must shoot 1,200 career free throws. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf only shot 1,161 overall, just 39 free throws off. Not only that, but he was once one of the deadliest shooters in the history of college and professional basketball, a two-time All-American at Louisiana State University, and then a lottery pick who in 9 seasons in the NBA played against some of the league's biggest names. As impressive as all of this sounds, right now you're probably wondering, who the hell is Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf? Well, that's what I thought too when I first came across this player. However, luckily for you guys, I have done some research on the star of the NBA's past and would love to introduce you guys to him. Today we take a look at the outstanding career of NBA player Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. Welcome to NBA Insider.
Westbrook shows from the basketball, goes to the rim!
Chris Wayne Jackson was born in Gulfport, Mississippi on March 9, 1969. Growing up as a kid, he was raised in a single-parent household by his mother, Jacqueline Jackson, alongside his two brothers, Omar and David. His mother was a cafeteria lady who worked hard to try and put food on the table each and every night. Just like many other children who grew up with a single mother, he never knew his biological father. On top of this, his childhood was built around an area in which the main lifestyles were that of drugs, poverty, and prostitution. In middle school, Chris missed the 4th grade and would later on be placed in special education classes. It was also around this time that he was diagnosed with Tourette syndrome, a condition that was ignored until he was 17 years old. Despite all of these hardships, Chris somehow managed to always focus on the sport of basketball. As a kid, whenever you wanted to look for him, all you had to do was go to the city's playground basketball courts. It was there that you would find him practicing for hours, shooting hundreds of free throws a day and working on his shooting. As a matter of fact, he was so indulged in the sport that he played for Gulfport High School, where he was named the Mississippi Player of the Year in 1987 and the Gatorade Mississippi State Player of the Year. While in high school, Chris's basketball coach would offer his players encouragement by telling them that they could cut minutes off of practice by hitting consecutive free throws. Every shot they hit in a row meant less running and fewer drills. One day, Chris was the shooter. On that day, he made 283 shots in a row. Because of this amazing performance, practice was cancelled. This free throw practicing clearly helped him as he went on to average 29.9 points and 5.7 assists during his senior season. The point guard had already developed into a deadly scorer with a silky smooth jump shot that left his high school opponent stunned. Standing at 6'1", he led his Gulfport High School team to multiple state championships, set numerous state records, and is still considered by many to be the greatest player to ever come out of the state of Mississippi. Following his senior year, he chose to attend Louisiana State University to play college basketball for the Tigers. As a matter of fact, Chris played with NBA player Shaquille O'Neal in his 2nd season there. Chris Jackson was a shy, quiet, humble kid even when he arrived at LSU as one of the country's top high school recruits. However, as quiet as he was, his game proved to be much louder than any of his competition. In just his freshman and sophomore years there, Jackson was a 2-time Player of the Year. After scoring 48 points 3 games into the first season against Louisiana Tech and 53 points against Florida in the first month of his college career, he went on to become the most celebrated freshman of all time. Chris Jackson was just overall a standout player. He set an NCAA freshman scoring record, averaging 30.2 points per game. He was named SEC Player of the Year and first-team All-American 2 years in a row. As a matter of fact, Jackson's 2 years at LSU are arguably one of the 2 best seasons anyone has put up in college basketball history. If it wasn't for Pete Maravich's untouchable legacy, Chris Jackson might be remembered as the greatest scorer ever to play for LSU. He finished his short college career as the 7th leading scorer in the school's history with 1,854 points. The crazy part about all of this was the fact that he was doing it all while fighting an ongoing battle with Tourette syndrome. In 1990, he was selected in the first round of the NBA draft, as the Denver Nuggets took him 3rd overall after trading their 2 first-round picks. He became the 5th LSU men's basketball player alongside players such as Pete Maravich to be selected in the first round. His first 2 years in the NBA, he really struggled to live up to his potential. In his rookie year, he injured his foot, gained 30 pounds, and in limited playing time averaged 14.1 points per game. In his second year, his scoring average would drop down to 10.3 points per game. Critics around the league were quickly beginning to label him as a bust. In 1991, while still playing in the NBA, Chris Jackson decided to convert to the religion of Islam. Then in 1993, at the age of 24, he decided to change his name to Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, an Arabic name which roughly translates to elegant and most kind. It was after reading and being influenced by the autobiography of Malcolm X in college that he decided to change his faith. Moving onwards, in his first season as an all-star point guard for the 1990 Denver Nuggets, he was selected in the NBA All-Rookie second team. Despite the fact that he had never dunked in an actual game, he also participated in the 1993 NBA Slam Dunk Contest. At the end of the 1993 season, he was named the NBA's most improved player after finishing the season averaging 19.2 points per game. He then signed a 5-year, $13 million contract extension and went on to lead his team in scoring. Abdul-Rauf even led the entire league in free throw percentage in the 1994 and 1996 seasons. He played a key role with the Denver Nuggets up until 1996 before being traded to the Sacramento Kings. Then in 1996, he took a break from the NBA and signed a 2-year, $3.4 million contract with the Turkish Basketball League. He left the club without finishing the season because he had apparently lost interest in the game. However, this was clearly false because he would return to the NBA, where he signed to play with the Vancouver Grizzlies in August of 2000. This, however, would be the last season he would play in the NBA. In the end, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf played a total of 9 seasons in the league from 1990 to 2001. He finished his career with averages of 14.6 points and 3.5 assists per game. Now, although his career ended, the reasoning behind this was not because he chose to leave the game, but because he had to. March 10th, 1996 marked the beginning of the end of his NBA career. On this night, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf was preparing for an upcoming game. He went through warm-ups, returned to the locker room to dress for the game, and walked out with his teammates for the normal pre-game rituals. However, the point guard decided that he would not stand and salute the United States flag during the national anthem before the game. Instead, while the rest of his teammates stood, he sat down. In reality, this wasn't anything new. He hadn't participated in the national anthem for most of that season. Sometimes he would stretch through it, other nights he remained in the locker room and only joined his teammates on the court once it was over. But on this night, a local news reporter noticed him sitting there and wrote up a small story for the newspaper. The following morning, news of his quote-unquote disrespectful actions spread throughout the entire world. His mailbox was flooded with death threats and hate mail telling him to go back to Africa and to leave the country. You're a traitor. In Mahmoud's eyes, the protest was meant to draw attention to the fact that the American flag was a symbol of dictatorship and oppression, and that it was out of line with his Islamic faith to honor it. His refusal to stand for the national anthem and calling the flag of the United States a symbol of oppression sparked controversy throughout the entire league. Following the world's reaction to this, when he was asked during an interview why he did what he did, he had this to say: "I don't think you can argue the facts. You can't be for God and for oppression. I don't criticize those who stand, so don't criticize me for sitting. I won't waver my decision. I am also a man who tries to perfect my life on and off the court, and someone who tries to be sincere in my treatment of my fellow human beings and sincere in any activity that I undertake. Therefore, it is my understanding that 100% honesty and sincerity is a requirement for participation in the national anthem. As such, I chose not to disrespect anyone and remain in the locker room or hallway area while the anthem was being played." Back in March of 1996, 2 days after the game in which he never stood for the national anthem and before the Nuggets home game against the Orlando Magic, NBA Commissioner David Stern suspended Abdul-Rauf indefinitely.